Oh my God. What's up, guys? Right now, you all know about the drama. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about the drama between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. But all I know is that she posted a tweet, like a biblical tweet, and then Ben Shapiro responded to it. So, as Carl Tucker Carlson does, he wants to get to the bottom of it. And I'm pretty sure you guys do too. So let's see what's actually happening. Take it away, Tucker.
In 16, the Roman Inquisition hauled in Galileo, the Italian astronomer, and commanded him to stop saying that the Earth revolves around the sun. Shut up, they said. Everyone knows that's wrong, and you're a bad person for saying otherwise. That's a well-known story, of course, and we laugh about it now 400 years later because the authorities were completely wrong. Galileo is a hero, they are fools. And we explain this by pointing out that they were religious nuts. They were superstitious. Nothing like that could ever happen now. But it turns out the one constant in human history is human nature. And not only does it happen now, it happens more than ever. Watch Candace Owens get widely attacked, not by one person, but by everyone for being right.
People like Candace Owens and others have been flagrant at putting out disinformation into the public sphere.
The top performing post of the week was this post by Candace Owens, a far right-wing commentator and a favorite on Fox, denigrating.
Let's get this straight, bro. Candace Owens is not far right, bro. Now, most people that the mainstream media calls far right aren't far right. Like, with my views, people will call me far right. I'm not far right. I'm like a fucking libertarian and shit. Like, people think that I'm just some staunch Republican and shit like that. Nah, I'm not far right, not far left. I'm like a libertarian, bro. You do you, I do me. I don't give a fuck what you do. I'm gonna criticize what you do, but I don't want no laws to dictate what you do. Boom. As long as it's not fucking with my rights, you're good.
George Floyd, it just shows how this website is a radicalization engine.
You do have this sort of parade of man-of-the-world that are parroting Russian talking points.
Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Tulsi Gabbard, I think somewhere along the line, they don't believe this, but they think that it's in their interest to say these things. These people are almost collaborators.
That Candace Owens video was the top video on Facebook this past week, and she's saying all sorts of things about George Floyd and denying any systemic racism problems. And so there's a deeper fundamental issue with what the Facebook algorithm and all social media algorithms, what kind of content they reward.
Others doubled down on vaccine disinformation.
It's so crazy when they say that because they believe a bunch of bullshit. They believe men can be women, all this shit like that. Like, shit about climate change. They push so much, like, in that whole COVID shit. Like, they push so much shit that's, like, false. Like, actually provably false. But they want to say the right wing is doing shit. Nah, bro. Y'all push the bullshit, too. Like, motherfuckers be saying that men can actually be women. Like, female. Like, men can be female. Like, men can fucking menstruate and shit like that. Nah, bro. Nah. Nah.
Folks like right-wing commentator Candace Owens, who told followers that she wouldn't take the vaccine, even on her deathbed.
Notice why they were attacking Candace Owens. What did she say? She said, well, actually, George Floyd was not murdered by a racist cop, much less by a systemically racist society. She said, actually, the vaccine doesn't work very well and it may be dangerous. She went on to say, no, Ukraine is not going to win the war against Russia. And for saying these things, every one of which has proven true, she was attacked as an immoral person, a racist, and a traitor to her country. What's interesting, however, is that no one leveling those taxes ever apologized.
Which is so crazy because
to her.
Because, like, she's black, bro. And it's a bunch of white people calling her racist and shit like that. Like, they called, Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy, bro. Like, how fucking disrespectful is that to a black person? Like, these white liberals are racist as fuck, bro.
And so, maybe like Galileo, she's going to have to wait for her descendants to get the praise for her truth-telling. And we thought that seems unfair. So we decided to invite Candace Owens into the studio and congratulate her face to face. Candace Owens, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
And
having me.
by the way, you're about to have another descendant.
Actually, yeah, 40 weeks, but I was not missing this. I was so excited.
so
I'm
nice.
honored to be here.
Well, so it's a little weird to see yourself. Look, we all get things wrong. I certainly have gotten a lot of things wrong. I think it's fair to be attacked for getting it wrong. But if you get it right, and it's proven that you got it right, and in 3 instances it has been proven that you did on the biggest issues of the day, shouldn't the people who attacked you apologize? And shouldn't someone at least point out, hey, Candace Owens was right about that?
No, I think what tends to happen is they have too much ego and they're too proud and they want to sort of move on and pretend that they weren't as radical as they were in their stances and calling you a grandma killer, you know, if you wanted to go out the door and get groceries or if you wanted to maybe see your grandma because grandma shouldn't be dying alone even if she is dying. So it takes a tremendous amount of humility to admit that you were wrong. People prefer to then pretend the internet will forget and just that they had more nuance than they did on the issue of the day, which is fine with me. I'm totally.
I mean, it's one thing not to admit you're wrong. I understand it's difficult to do that. I have to force myself. But to attack other people for being right and then apologize for it does seem immoral.
It is immoral. And when we're living in an environment where there is a lot of media immorality, you know, people would rather you parrot.
Oh, that's what they do, yo. Like the left, for some reason, like it's not just if you're right and they're wrong, right? It's the arrogance about it with the left, bro. Like they say stuff all the time that is just false. And they demonize you. Like you don't even have to be on the right. But if you say one thing that goes against them, then you're just evil, which is so crazy. And people say the right is so hateful, but we just be like, yo, you can argue with them. You can argue. All right, I'm not really too far right, but I've noticed like with right leaning people, like you can argue with them. You can like hash out ideas. And then sometimes they will even like um they come around to your ideas if you express them well enough or if you like give a good argument, the right will actually listen to your ideas and shit. The left will call you evil. The left will say that if you don't believe what they think, then you're evil. But then they think that in some, they think in their mind that like the right are the tyrannical or fascist ones when they want to dictate what other people think, bro. That's so weird. It's so weird.
Certain talking points rather than have a meaningful discussion and a meaningful dialogue, and they don't accept it. And at the moment that they start to censor speech and they start talking, you know, calling you names, like calling you a grandma killer, calling you a pro-Putin puppet, you know it's because they don't actually believe what they're saying. It just, these are ad hominem attacks to dissuade from having an actual debate, and there always should be an actual debate on every issue.
And when they never explain what you got wrong, they don't call it wrong, they call it disinformation, which suggests it could be right. That's usually a tell. And speaking of, so I was out of the country yesterday and didn't have adequate internet access on the plane to really follow this, and I don't understand the context exactly, but the internet was dominated yesterday by video of Ben Shapiro, who you work with at the Daily Wire, I think it's fair to say, attacking you. Here's the video. I just want to get your reaction to it.
Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think it's absolutely absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So maybe there's a point in the video where he explains what exactly you did wrong and how you were wrong. I haven't seen it. But to call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step.
No, and that is a big step. That's a big thing for Ben to do. Ben should not do that. He shouldn't go onto a public platform and just call Candace disgraceful, right? But you gotta, that's his company, right? I think the Daily Wire is his company, right? So you gotta admit, like, even with that shit, and they're still working together. She's still employed at the company. Like, it's not like the left that thinks your views are disgraceful and they're just like, hey, you're getting fired immediately, bro. So that it's something to say about the fact that on the right, you can have disagreements and like talk shit to each other, but at the end of the day, like y'all still coworkers, y'all still yeah, and they might even squash this shit later. But on the left, you just don't see that shit. And that's what attracts people. I think, in my opinion, that's what attracts people more to the right than the left because the left is just like hate, hate, hate. You don't agree with me, hate. The right is like, yeah, we can talk shit to each other, but it's all love.
And I really don't know the background or what.
Unless Candace says something that contradicts what I just said. If she says, yeah, fuck this dude, then it's something different. But yeah, that's how I view it.
Is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like
Yes.
it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on, and in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, we
specifically-
disagree, or
Yeah.
I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks.
Yes.
I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine.
See, and that's the thing, right? You can disagree about a bunch of stuff. Like, I'll repeat myself. You can disagree about a bunch of stuff on the right. But on the left, just think about it. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but like Destiny, he's a streamer. Like when he went against like trans people in sports, I think Destiny is a fucking idiot. Like a lot of the times. But like when he went against trans people in sports, he got eviscerated. He got talked shit to by the people on the left. When he disagreed about Kyle Rittenhouse, he got shit on by the left, right? And like publicly, like he got fucking banned from streams for saying certain shit and stuff like that. But on the right, it's like y'all disagree, and then it's just like, you know, let's talk this shit out. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a conversation. I'm positive they're gonna have a conversation. Like even Steven Crowder when he went against the Daily Wire when they had that back and forth. Steven Crowder still says good stuff about the Daily Wire. He still says good stuff about Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and shit like that. So
on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's
On the
particularly
COVID
remarkable.
vaccine, really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I was anti the vaccine. You know, we were all idiots for not getting the vaccine. So that's totally fine. I am totally open to people having a difference in opinion.
Right.
I would hope that amongst colleagues that it would always be a civil disagreement. And I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben.
It's
I
just
would
a little
say-
weird. It's a little weird. So he was on the left on those three biggest issues of our time, is what you're saying?
He has converted his opinions. He's accepted responsibility. He said, you know, I was wrong about the vaccine.
Oh, good. Good for him.
He is, you know, obviously pro pharma. His mom's a doctor. And I say to people, I'm very aware of my perspectives on big pharma, and I talk about it on my show openly. And I think that that's a tremendous credit to the Daily Wire that they allow a difference of opinions. But I would, as I said, hope that it would remain respectful and that you wouldn't throw your colleagues under a bus, so to speak,
I think
in a
that,
private
I
setting.
think that's fair. And just for clarity, because I really don't know, is he your boss? Does he?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Ben's involvement. He's not the CEO of the Daily Wire. He is not making the day-to-day decisions of the Daily
okay, so he's not the owner. My mistake.
Wire. And I do want to make it very clear because people are like, how could you possibly save Daily Wire after this? I have a very good relationship with the co-CEOs of the Daily Wire. Especially right now, the acting CEO is Caleb Robinson. He's a wonderful person. He's worked very hard to be where he's at. We have a lot in common that we connect on. And so people don't get to see that, which is unfortunate. Ben lives in Florida. He's not a part of the day-to-day movement of the Daily Wire. The rest of the hosts have their shows situated in Nashville. So we see each other every day. We talk. There's great camaraderie. And there's actually more agreement. There's actually
You know what? That might seem small, but her saying that Ben is not involved with like the day-to-day going-ons of the Daily Wire is pretty big. I know that. I thought he was like he does everything for everybody. I thought he was more involved than she's letting on, actually.
a lot of people that are, as I describe myself, just pro-America first. And I think I've been that way consistently throughout my political career. Whether people agree with it or not in different moments is up for debate. But I don't want that video to become a reflection of how the Daily Wire works and the Daily Wire operates, because I have had a very good experience with the CEOs, and love Michael Knowles, love Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan. We all get along really great.
Well, it certainly speaks well of the Daily Wire then. So it's not, I mean, a clip like that on the internet, oh, Candace Owens is out or something. That's not, doesn't sound like that's what it means at all.
Yeah, no, it's a small group of people. We see each other every day.
Right.
Brett Cooper is another one who just joined about 2 years ago. She's great. She's up and coming. And there's a lot of stuff that we're working on. And that's why I think this video is even more unfortunate, because people see him as a figurehead, rightfully so, of the Daily Wire. And it allows people to, speak energy into the Daily Wire that isn't necessarily there, because he's not there on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, that's very interesting. So if we could take 3 steps back and give us the context for this debate, how are you on different sides of it? I mean, I haven't heard you endorsing Hamas, like you're not. No.
Well, I have not endorsed Hamas in any way, and yet people have interpreted things that I say, or actually rather things that I don't say. It's becoming very much reminiscent to me, and why I have used my platform to say this, of Black Lives Matter, where if you don't say anything, they say your silence is violence. If you say something and it's even-handed and it's nuanced, which is to say, during the times of Black Lives Matter, you might say, I don't support police brutality. Who does? I don't support racism. Who does? But also, I think that police are a crucial part of every city. We need to have policing in cities, so these calls to defund the police are immoral and wrong and are going to lead to more Black deaths. People didn't want that nuance. When following George Floyd, there was no nuance. You had to explicitly say defund the police. You had to post a Black square. If you didn't post a Black square on Instagram, by the way, specifically on the platform of Instagram.
Oh, and that's the thing about a bunch of people, like anything that happens, right? Anything. You have to, like, if you're a public figure, you have to say what side you're on. Like Hamas or Israel, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. You have to say a specific position. And depending on like what level you are in society, then you'll either get demonized or you'll get praised for it. Actually, you'll get demonized from either side. Like you'll get demonized from the left if you say that all lives matter. You'll get demonized from the right if you say Black Lives Matter a lot of the times. Well, actually, if you say Black Lives Matter on the right and you have like a reason behind what you're saying, you're like, oh, I support Black Lives Matter. I don't support the movement. Then it's like, all right, I get that. All right, yeah, police brutality. That's what you're going for? Okay, that makes sense. On the left, bro. On the left, you have to be, bro. You have to be strict with every fucking issue. You have to be on their side with every issue.
And you maybe were busy that day. Maybe you were in another country. Maybe you just didn't log on to Instagram. You were accused of being a racist. I'm seeing a lot of that behavior right now when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious. Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response. First off, as a mother, That's not going to be my response as somebody who's about to give birth when I see these images of children
Yes.
involved on both sides of the conflict. I've pointed to the people that are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme. So people that have become more radical and extreme are perceiving a moderate stance as not enough. And
Because I was about to say, you don't, people can disagree with you or agree with you or whatever, but you certainly don't seem radical on this topic.
I'm definitively not radical. My stance has not changed in terms of whether or not.
Yeah, but like a lot of the time, when we talk about Israel and Hamas, it's like you're responding, right? Or that's their response, right? You'd be like, Hamas did this, and this. And then the person will be like, well, Israel killed kids. And you'll be like, yeah, but they were human shields, right? It's not like Israel was targeting those kids. Hamas actually targeted these people, like actually did. So it's like in response to you saying all the atrocities that happened that Hamas has done, then they be like, oh yeah, well they kill kids. So you gotta be like, yeah, they kill kids. I know they're human shields, but kids still died. So it's kind of like you have to say it because it's usually a response.
America should be involved in this conflict. Whether we were talking about Afghanistan, my comments have been clear. They've been documented for years. Whether we are talking about Ukraine and Russia, my comments have been clear and they have been documented. I mean, you can go back to me even talking about NATO expansion before things erupted between Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
And having a meaningful discussion about how much expansion is too much expansion. How would we feel if we had troops on our border? These are things that should be allowed in an academic discussion. You should be able to sit on stage and should be able to debate these ideas without using ad hominem attacks to say that you're a pro-Putin puppet or you're pro-terrorism. Even in the aftermath of 9/11, something that we all remember as part of my childhood. I think I was in 7th grade at the time, and I'm born in the New York City area, so this was a very big deal. If a person the day after 9/11 wanted to debate the Patriot Act, it's not fair to call them terrorist sympathizers.
No.
Actually, they would have been proven right in the long run. That act, we gave up a lot of our freedoms. And I think there was only one congressman, a Republican, that was against the Patriot Act at that time. So it's important, actually, when you start making decisions in a highly emotional time, that people sit down and have these academic debates. And there are people that are saying, no, it doesn't matter because people are dead, that you need to just choose a side, and that needs to be it. It needs to become tribal.
There's also, I can't help but notice that your views reflect mine, I would say pretty much. I'm an American. I was horrified by what happened on October 7th. I think it was pretty strange. I don't really understand how it happened, but innocents died, and that's awful. And I hated watching that. And I feel so sorry for the Israelis who were killed. However, there's an emotional response that is disproportionate, I think, on the part of some commentators. I mean, our country's being invaded right now by millions of young men whose identities we don't know, who probably don't even like America, and they're now living here. Over 100,000 Americans die every year of fentanyl. I've known a couple. Those are real tragedies. I've never seen anything like the emotion from any commentator around those tragedies as I'm watching about a foreign tragedy. I think that's odd.
I think what tends to happen is,
And the thing is, it's like a bunch of people, like now, they just see Israel as like an occupation of the West, right? So they're like, oh, like they see Israel like if the West is how the Europeans came over to America and took over, basically, right? They see that as the same thing as what's going on in Israel when it's not. Like, I'm pretty sure there've been a bunch of like peace agreements that Israel has offered to Palestine, and then they just fucking denied that shit every fucking time. They don't want a two-state solution, right? Like a bunch of people say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Like they don't say Palestinians will be free. Like they're not freeing Palestinians from Israel. They're saying Palestine will be free. What does that mean? Palestine will be free. Free of what? Free of who? Free of the Jews. That's what they're saying. So it's not really like a bunch of people are chanting that shit all over the place, and it's fucking crazy. It's so crazy. Like you see all these videos of pro-Palestine people ripping down signs of like kidnapped or killed Jews that were fucking kidnapped, right? So it's just insane. Like it's insane to say, like if you just if you just look at it from today's perspective, not going back to the history, if you just look at it from what happened on October 7th, you should not be against Israel. You should not be pro-Palestine. That's insane to me that you're like, yeah, kill and kidnap all these fucking Jewish people. That's fucking insane. It's crazy.
Of course, we all have elements of selfishness within us. And so when it particularly pertains to an issue that impacts you, I was strongly speaking out against Black Lives Matter as an organization very early on as a conservative because I understood what the implications were going to be of defunding the police.
Right.
It was an issue that was important to me. I created an entire documentary to talk about this issue.
Yes.
And I held on for a long time, and people began to see that actually I was telling the truth, and now we have more death in inner city communities than we had before.
Yes.
These riots and these George Floyd protests calling for defunding of the police. And I think in terms of this, that's what's also happened is that people that are pro-Israel are pro-Israel, a lot of them, because they have family members in Israel.
I get it.
They have homes in Israel.
Yes.
And so they feel very attached to this issue. And, you know, I was very happy to host somebody who was pro-Israel. He's a pro-Israel comedian on my show the other day. And I explained this to him. I said, you know, you are demanding that we have this same response that you are having about what people are saying on college campuses. The rhetoric on college campuses hasn't changed. Did you not remember what they were saying, what professors were saying, the anti-white explicit racism that was happening, and not even just allowed in terms of student protests, but was written into the curriculum at these universities for years. People were learning this actively in school, that whiteness was associated with wrongness. You had college professors that were writing about this need there need to be less white people in America. You can find these articles. They exist online.
They're everywhere.
They're
and
everywhere.
that seems genocidal. I mean, if you're
saying...
It
is genocidal.
Like by definition, if you're saying being a certain ethnicity or race is itself a sin and we need less of you, I mean, that is the definition, is it not?
Right. It was an understanding of needing to breed out white people. It was unbelievable what I was seeing, and I was impacted by it because I'm in a biracial relationship and I have biracial children. So you are telling me that my children are going to have to decide between whether or not they are white oppressors or they are Black victims. It doesn't stand for me. So I was attached to this issue, and it's something that I fought for hard on college campuses, and there was no support. There was nobody talking about, well, this is what needs to go. These kids need to go onto blacklists. And by the way, if they did speak that way, I would have disagreed with it because I am pro 1A. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that kids, by the way, are naturally stupid. In case people forget, I started on the left, right?
Yeah.
So if you found me in college, you would have found a pro-life person who believed, in some racist principles, fundamental racism in America, because that was what I was being taught systematically in the classroom. And then I got to grow up and change my mind. And I don't think people have thought past their immediate emotions to consider what's going to happen when you put these kids on blacklists. You think that's going to bring them over to the pro-Israel side when they get older? Most of these kids, especially when you're talking about the cream of the crop at these Ivy League universities, already have access to money and wealth and connections. And so maybe debating the issues and explaining to them why it was wrong to sign this specific letter, which didn't call for explicit violence against the Israelis, but it actually was very poorly timed, and it blamed them for what happened, which would have been horrific. Imagine after 9/11, somebody issues a letter on college campus that says, "Oh well, sorry about the fire department."
I agree. Yeah, I get why donors are mad.
Imagine,
and by the way, I support donors giving money to things they agree with.
Yes, I support that.
I strongly do.
Yep.
The part that And so I have no problem with that at all.
Same.
You don't like it, don't pay for it. Good for you. However, then I thought, well, wait a second. If the biggest donors at, say, Harvard have decided, well, we're going to shut it down now, where were you the last 10 years when they were calling for white genocide? You were allowing this. And then I found myself really hating those people, actually. You're okay with that? On what grounds were you okay with that?
And this is what I've been trying to explain to the pro-Israel lobby, that what you are seeing as lack of support is people that are asking the question is, where were you as we have endured all of this?
You were paying for it, actually.
Right.
You were paying for it.
You were paying for it.
You were calling my children immoral for their skin color. You paid for that.
And
so why shouldn't I be mad at you? I don't understand.
And so that is, obviously you have a ton of white people that are asking this question, and they're now being called anti-Semitic. And I think that that's wrong. I think these are meaningful questions that deserve to be answered. Why was this sort of verbiage allowed into the curriculum? I mean, could you imagine if in the curriculum it said that every...
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. because all I wanted to hear was the Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens shit. So all this extra stuff, you can check it out. Check out Tucker Carlson's Twitter. He just got this full video up. I'm gonna link it in the description. Check it out. But just let me know who you guys